Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions. A decade of games journalists attacking gamers thinking they would always be in this position of elite superiority, ending with all their corrupt little outlets falling apart, and they then come begging for the support of the people they've been hating on this entire time. There's nothing more insane than these people spewing hatred and acting with malice towards gamers and all those who loves games for so long, only to, in their hour of need, think they are owed an ounce of sympathy and compassion from the people they despise? The best part is, for us to win, we only had to do nothing at all. This was avoidable. Gaming right now is at the apex, despite all the lies the journalists will tell you about a failing industry. There's never been more people playing games. More genres finding success, more gaming styles and ranks of dedication from casual to professional, with more avenues for gaming. And as gaming becomes the biggest entertainment industry on the planet, journalists have more of an audience who want more information than ever before. This is not the worst time in games history to be a games journalist. This is the best time to be a games journalist, which makes it all that much more miraculous. The games media outlets are failing. They had the silver spoon in their mouths and spat it out. They reverse Midas touched themselves, turning gold into biomatter. This will not end with Polygon. Games media has cultish mimicry, parroting every other game site that is toppling like dominoes. Like AI, their articles are being copy-pasted between sister sites according to the directive of their corporate masters. Games media used to inform gamers about huge corporations, only to suddenly become the corporate mouthpieces, and they thought nobody would notice. And it was all avoidable. If even one of these games media corporations had looked at this and thought about survival, they could go from a competitive media industry with everyone competing for gamer attention to having a monopoly. To have all the traffic going through them alone, to have all the exclusives and scoops going to them, to be the only one single games media site that respects gamers and gets respect in return. They chose their ideological cult over their job. Given the option, they decided to have the entire industry go under again. Since they will try to gaslight you on this, they will shift the blame, they will never take responsibility. This could have been avoided, and this is 100% their fault. Like a reverse crabs in a bucket, they all see the top of the bucket, they know how to get out, but when they have that option to save their sites, to save their jobs, it's not their allies bringing them down to the bottom of the bucket, and it is absolutely not the gamers pushing them down. If anything, the gaming audience has been lending them a hand, offering them a way out of their predicament for years. Yet they're the ones clawing their own way back down. The bucket is getting full of crab carcasses. It wants them to get out, but they refuse to leave. They have never cared about gaming or ethical journalism. That's a fact. They would be thriving if they were dedicated to do a good job, loving video games and providing consumer advocacy and coverage gamers want. Instead, they pick creepy social politics nonsense, trying to justify how they are openly hating people based on race, based on gender, and just based on being gamers. How much they hate this indie developer or that AA studio for imagined slight they made up themselves in order to vindicate inciting hate mobs of their fanatical followers to harass small, lesser-known creators trying to enter the market. They chose hating gamers and passionate game developers over loving games or even the selfish notion of self-preservation. They chose hating games we love and the gamers who play them. They chose to do piss-poor journalism. They chose to slurp on the glorp of massive corporations. They chose to be the dogs of corrupt government agencies, and they chose this over having a job. So don't feel guilt for celebrating the mass firing of these societal leeches. Getting rid of them is the best thing that can happen. This is objectively good for the industry. Don't misunderstand. Having zero reliable major journalist outlets which act ethically without bias, who are not on the take, that is not a good thing for gaming compared to a thriving, competitive, honest games media. However, we've not had that in over a decade. We are not losing that right now. We lost that long ago, and body snatchers took their place. What is objectively good is for these pretenders to be unmasked, shown for the charlatans and corporate bootlickers they are, and cast into oblivion. A media that is based entirely on lies is worse than having no media at all. This is what is good for gaming, just like the failure of Ubisoft, EA, and other AAA corporations who have injected abuse and predatory monetization into games is a good thing. If they do not want to make games that gamers want to play, it is a good thing that they fail and their control is weakened, so passionate indie developers and AA studios who love making games can take their place. When someone today says that the games industry is in a bad place because AC Shadows, Avowed, Veilguard, Concord, Forspoken, Kill the Justice League, Star Wars Outlaws, and more AAA slop has failed, they are taking the glass half empty approach. Let us instead look at what can fill the rest of that glass. The likes of Clair Obscur, Metaphor, Baldur's Gate 3, Balatro, Schedule 1, Palworld, Stellar Blade, Black Myth Wukong, and more. If anything, gaming may be in the best position it has ever been. Instead of being negative about the prices, the journalism collapse, the AAA behavior, market disruptors who threaten AAA dominance could be the final wake-up call for big studios to make games for the 99% of the audience that pays them money to buy their games, instead of for the 1% screaming media consultants on Twitter who hate or love your game solely on social messaging, who will always spend $0 on you but will endeavor to destroy you if you are mildly disloyal to their cult doctrine. They will do all they can to guilt and shame you, say the same old names, the same old spew. It is as worthless as all of their coverage is. This is not because of gamers. All blame lies entirely with journalists, and they will never take responsibility for what they've done. Their pathetic victim mentality is what got them there in the first place. That inability to ever apologize or contemplate why everyone hates them, to ever change or improve, journalists demand you bow to their every whim. To cater to their ultra-specific definition of what makes a so-called safe space for journalists who spend all their time tone-policing others. Well, these journalists are the ones who demanded safety for themselves, while their participation in cancel culture made the games industry dangerous for everyone else. People are sick of the way journalists go after the jobs and reputations of developers with lies and intimidation. People are sick of the way journalists insult and lash out at gamers who dislike a game as if it's the journalist's job to protect a product from being criticized. It's time to put an end to this strategy of guilt. Instead, make it clear. Be happy that games media has decided to destroy itself. They have been in self-destructive mode and lashing out for over a decade, and we have been telling them how to fix themselves that entire time. Everything they have done is projection. That toxicity they always cry about, they have always been the toxic ones. They have harassed developers, they have gone after people's jobs, they have insulted and labeled everyone who disagrees with them, and they have left themselves completely alone and without allies when they need them most. This is their fault, and don't let them weasel their way out of that fact. There's only so long you can insult and harass your audience before the audience tells you to get lost. And the audience is lost to them. Finding instead content creators who have been able to earn respect and trust. People aren't even interested in the rage bait anymore. You see an article from trash journalists trashing the gamers, and it's an instant glaze over. Like finding the 100th spool of steaming dog shit in your garden. It might have pissed you off at the first time, but on day 90 of consecutive dog shit in the garden, you're just going to look at it, sigh, and say, oh look, there's another journalist in my garden. That is what journalists are. They are antagonists and provocateurs whose material is so AI generated, they are boring. That headline, "The toxic gamers are bigots," is no longer shocking or subverting expectations. A year ago, when the big hit finally came, when journalists decided to start so-called Gamergate 2, and it was journalists who started it, let's not forget that either, that they're really regretting that decision, the last straw snapped. Keep in mind one very important thing when celebrating the downfall of the games media. This is not just people who are atrociously bad at their job. They are, but that is not why you should celebrate this. It is not just that journalists were enjoying kickbacks and perks from the corporations they once were guard dogs against. Years reminding everyone in every article about the abuse scandals at Blizzard and Ubisoft, only to now do nothing but fluff pieces, promotions, and running defense by attacking those who do not worship the corporate slop. Even though many journalists are now in corporate pockets, that may be cause to celebrate, but again, not the main reason. Celebrate the downfall of games journalism, because they hate you, and you deserve so much better. They hate gamers. They hate video games. The journalists, their activist buddies, the consultants, and the departments they wedged into major studios have caused irreparable damage to the gaming industry. There are studios and franchises that are decades old that will never recover from what these people have done. Celebrate this, because they harm the industry. They're making gaming worse. They make games worse. They have poisoned social interactions in games. They have sucked off most of the fun in gaming, allegedly, and they thought themselves untouchable kingmakers. Using threats to get their friends and ideology into studios, force change behaviors, and despite taking every effort to ruin gaming, after all this time still have the absolute hubris to demand gamer support in their most desperate hour. And now, they are gone. Don't feel bad when someone is given every chance to keep their job and makes a choice to avoid those chances. Don't feel bad when someone who openly hates you loses all your support. We gave them more than they deserve. We gave them chance after chance when they were being belligerent and vile. We told them how to change. We offered them advice and opportunities, and they lashed out every single time. And before you even think about forgiving them, keep in mind, they still have not apologized or even admitted what they have done wrong. They deserve no forgiveness. Celebrate. Celebrate the end of the tyrant king, and celebrate the coming of fairness, where content creators vie for an audience off purely merit, where AA, studios, and indie games do the same, vying for your money while AAA corporations abandon you. The king and his vassals are dead,